Well, Hannah, thank you so much for being here with me on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. I'm really excited to have you here because today is a topic that I haven't spoken about, and I'm so excited to have you here because I think it is something as well that we need to dig into for the audience in order to listen to and also to understand. Before we get started on that, why don't I hand over to you so you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Hi there. Well, thank you very much for inviting me onto your podcast. My name's Hannah Lindsell and I founded HR Coaching this year, and I offer women career coaching.
That's amazing. And I think this is really important because when we talk about career coaching, people are going to go, oh, what kind of coaching is that? Because there's so much coaching that really exists in the world. So we're going to dive into that a little bit. And then for those of you listening, if you're wondering what career coaching is and wondering if it's something for you, then stick around because I think you're really going to get some great golden nuggets from it and also understanding what we're going to have a discussion about today. But Hannah, before we get started, the one thing that I always love to share with the audience is your success story, how you got started. What was the pivoting point for you to start your business? Because obviously you said you just started this year, but what is your background like and how did that move into the point where you went like, right, I'm going to start my business and I'm going to become a career coach?
Okay, well, thank you. So as I said, my name's Hannah Lindsell and I still work 4 days a week for another organisation. I work for Public Health England in their addictions team. And obviously everyone has now heard about Public Health England because we are managing the pandemic. So I currently split my time between working in their addictions team and responding to the COVID crisis. So what I have in my background is 20 years experience in addiction. So that's drugs, alcohol and tobacco. And I've had a very long and interesting career in that. I've worked mainly with women in some really interesting settings, so in hospitals, hostels, prisons, rehabs. I've written a research paper on the links between prostitution and crack cocaine. I trained as a rape and sexual abuse counsellor. And I've supported women to make some really fundamental changes to their life, often in some of the most horrible circumstances. And that was really rewarding for me. And then 7 years ago, I came into the civil service and I wasn't having that face-to-face contact anymore with women. And it was on a more kind of policy side of things. And I wasn't happy. And I was very disaffected with my career, but I didn't know why. And I had some career coaching and that helped me pick through my 20 years of experience and work out what it is that I liked, what was working for me, worked for my personality and what drives me. And then that evolved into myself having into myself training as a career coach. And I have been training and offering career coaching within PHE for the last 5 years. And it was on one particularly grey meeting, probably in a vault somewhere in a basement without any windows and no biscuits, that I just thought, when I get to 100 hours of practice, I am going to launch my business. I'm going to start charging. And I am going to offer it to women in the beautiful green spaces around Richmond. So I also love nature. So in Bushy Park, in Kew Gardens. And I got to 100 hours and I did it. I asked to go part-time. I set up my website and 1 week into lockdown, I launched my business. So I am the busiest I've ever been. I do almost a full-time job. I do 4 days a week and I launch my business and I do my business around the edge of that. But although I am the busiest I've ever been, I'm also the most content I've ever been. And I always say it took me until I was 43 to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I thank career coaching for that.
That is amazing. It's such a lovely story. And you know what? It is so heartfelt to hear you, the experience that you've built up, how many women you've helped over the years. But in turn, you kind of helped yourself in a way as well, discovering your own way by being of service to other people, helping them through difficult times. You're paving the way of your own journey, how you're following the life, the passion that you've always wanted. And I think the interesting thing here is that pivoting moment where you made that decision that when I get to 100 hours, I'm going to start my own business. And you did it within COVID, literally when COVID started. And it just shows that, you know, where there's a pure desire to really achieve anything and to become or do anything, you can do it regardless of the circumstances out there. And yes, you're still working part-time, but that doesn't take away the passion that you have for what you want to do. And I love your story. I think it's just so noteworthy, and it's just so lovely to hear.
Thank you. I did spend a lot of time. I mean, I suppose I was unhappy and I just didn't know what to do, and I was trying to figure it out. But all I did at the time was just, I was relatively well paid. I had a secure job in the civil service. So I just spent it on clothes, and I was single. I had a lot of fun. I went on a lot of holidays, but I still wasn't happy. And I later called that my golden cage, because I was trapped. I had all the trappings of a nice life, but I fundamentally in my core wasn't happy 8 to 9 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I had to figure out how to try and change that.
Yeah. And you did during a world crisis. Well, you made the best out of every situation. And I think hats off to you for doing that. And it's amazing. It's amazing to hear what you've already achieved. So yeah, that's why I've got you here, because I want to talk about career coaching. I think the one thing is people now listening to this going, that's an amazing story, but what the heck is career coaching?
Yeah. There's a lot of coaches out there.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about your explanation and maybe even some of the benefits of career coaching?
Yeah. So essentially, I think it helps to understand what the word means. Coaching derives from the word rail coach or stage coach, and it literally means to transport someone from one place to another. And that's what you're helping someone to do. You're helping someone to transition. And by doing that, what I do is I facilitate the session. They bring the content. So through helping them order their thoughts, essentially coaching is having space and time to have a really good think about something, examine it from a number of perspectives. Sometimes people say things to me that they've never said out loud. They literally just churn over and over them in their head at 4 o'clock in the morning. So sometimes I act as a confidential sounding board. And what I get them to do through exercises and tools, but essentially through deep listening, is to get them to get their thoughts out, run through their options, review their options, and prioritize their options. And then I help them make a plan. And when they have a plan, I hold them to account. And it's that holding to account that brings momentum. So coaching is goal-driven. So essentially, that's what separates it from an empathetic chat. You could chat to me for hours and hours and hours. But what I will do is hold you to account, and I will challenge you. So I always say that does make it a little bit like Slimming World or Weight Watchers, because in a sense, if you have committed and invested in 4 sessions, you've got your overall goal, we've broken down what your goal is for each session. And in that session, you've identified a number of actions and things that you've got to go away and do. If you know that you're coming to see me on the Tuesday, a bit like when you're going to Weight Watchers to get weighed in, you will do those actions because you know you're going to be held to account. And it's that gives momentum, and it's that makes coaching pragmatic, and it brings results. The other thing that coaching does is I raise awareness for you. I raise awareness for you of your own issues, and I help you dig down. So what you might do to me is talk to me for an hour in our session, hour and a half, and fill me with facts and data about your job, your career, your past. And it isn't that I'm not interested or that doesn't add rich context, and I will have taken some of that in our exploratory call to see if we can work together. But what I need to help you do is dig down into values and beliefs. Because when you understand what values and beliefs are driving some of your behaviours, then you will get truly, truly transformational change. And that change will make you happy. People tend to come to me when they're unhappy and they don't know what to do. So just to recap, one of the things that I always say is that I could coach a brain surgeon, because I don't need to know anything about brain surgery. The brain surgeon comes to me and I will help them figure out what they need to do and help them figure out what they need to do, because it's not me. I never tell anyone what to do. They will then work out how they can get their promotion and become head of their unit, how they can improve their work-life balance, or how they become a better leader. That essentially is what coaching brings for you. And with that brings you an understanding of your drivers, an understanding of your career anchors. So we all have a number of career anchors, and they can be practical ones. You might be a carer to parents, to children. You might have geographical boundaries that keep you in a certain place, but you might have personal ones. You might want to make money. You might want to be in a mission-driven organization. You might want to be the boss. And I'll help you figure out what those things are in order that you can be in a career that sits authentically with your personality and actually gets you out of bed in the mornings. We work for approximately 90,000 hours of our life, and that breaks down to 3,750 days. And you would be amazed how many people aren't happy. Mm-hmm. So wouldn't it be nice if you actually got out of bed in the morning because you were doing something that you loved? Now, we don't love it every single day. We still have to do things we don't like. But fundamentally, if you were driven and you felt that this was your purpose and that you were doing something that made you really happy and you felt suited your core competencies and strengths and you saw the benefits of that, wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah. I love how you're explaining coaching in a sense, because I think it gave a very clear description of what coaching really is. And for those people listening and thinking, oh, well, that explains coaching, because there's so many different terms in order to explain working with a mentor, working with a coach, a tutor, all those kind of things. But in the end, it comes back to the same thing. And I think your explanation really kind of displays that in a nice way. But also, because of you being a career coach, I think this is the real interesting part. Exactly what you said. So many people, some of the audience here, not everybody is business owners. They're still working full time and maybe with a thought of going and starting their own business, or they're working part time like yourself and running a sideline hustle. But at the end of the day, it is the mindset behind getting up every morning, really enjoying the work that you're doing, enjoying your career. And it is important for you to understand that maybe the career you're in, if you're not happy in it, maybe it's a belief within yourself that you've got to overcome. That might be one of the things. Or maybe that career is not the right choice for you, and you need to go and find something else that is more aligned with you. But at the end of the day, it comes back to beliefs.
Yeah, it does. Having that belief or having that understanding about what makes you tick. What is it from your past career? You know, most people come to me when they're unhappy and they don't know what to do and they're at a crossroads, and they have found themselves in a rut and they've picked up. We acquire things throughout our life. We acquire dependencies. We acquire big mortgages. We acquire children. We acquire, a taste for the finer things in life that if you have a 90 grand a year job, but you desperately want to be an artist, how are you going to make that transition? Is it going to be a pipe dream? Could it happen? How could you make it happen? And that's what I help people figure out.
Yeah. And I think that transition period is the scary part. That's where people feel like, oh my gosh, if I let go of this, am I going to lose something and then go into something else? And might I lose that as well? And I think it's that whole fear of transitioning from one to the other. And I think that's why a career coach like yourself is so important.
Well, I do understand this. The better the devil you know, we become comfortable and having to push yourself to, somebody said to me last week I was speaking to, they said, the first 2 years are hell. If you are trying to run a business, your job and your side hustle at the same time, it is going to be hellish, because you can't drop one without the other. My desire is to build up this job in order that I may do career coaching as a full-time job. But at the moment, you've just got to run both at the same time. So you're going to be really busy and frazzled, and it's not always going to work out and things are going to go wrong. So it's how you try and keep that core belief. And I often do visualization exercises with people where I get them to imagine that they have made it. So for myself, that'll be, I'm outside Kew Gardens and I've just finished with my client, and she's walked away happy. She says, that's brilliant. I never thought of that. That's what I'm going to do. And she's full of energy and excitement, and she goes off with a plan. And I imagine what that would feel like, and that's that moment, and I capture it. And then if I wanted to, I would then work backwards and I would work out what I needed to do to get to that position. So it's kind of the thing I love about coaching is it brings the emotional element, and I often work in quite an emotional way with my clients, and I help them to dig down into limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome. I work a lot with confidence, but it's also very pragmatic. It can act really quickly. It's goal-driven action planning. Sometimes people just go away with a 90-day action plan, and they feel their energy, their va-va-voom comes back because they're driving towards their goal, and that makes us as human beings very content.
Yeah, it does. And as you're saying that, actually, I had a little flashback of when I was working full-time. I loved my job. I had such a kick out of what I was doing in the interior design industry. But there was this niggly feeling that I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so that feeling just grew, that desire just grew. And I started my own business while working full-time. And I wanted to explore it. I wanted to see how that was. And it captured my attention. That's where I just felt that I could be really something unique and I could really shine. And so the day I decided to go full-time into my own business and quit my job, it was a very tough decision for me because I loved what I did. But my desire in order to become an entrepreneur was so big, and having experienced that was my driving force. So the day I handed in my notice, it was the best decision I've made, not because I didn't enjoy my job. Completely the opposite. I'm one of those people who's like, I loved what I did. I honestly did. And I love the people I worked with. But that transition, that emotional space in between, that was quite tough for me to overcome and to go like, which one do I go for?
Wow, you were very lucky to have a choice between the two. But yeah, when you're working on a project that you love, it doesn't feel like work. And that's quite a nice feeling for people that lots of people that don't really love their job. And you will put the hours in, you'll put the energy in, you'll push yourself into, and it takes you into really foreign and exciting and scary places. And people are always telling me, your business or your project, it may not end up where you think it will, but allow it to organically grow and develop. I think certainly I say yes to absolutely everything this year, next year, and I will continue to do that, because you never know where it's going to take you, and who you'll meet or who you'll work with or what you'll learn, and what you'll learn about yourself, that will actually just make this experience all the richer.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit, because obviously we said in the beginning that there's so many different coaches out there, so many different types of coaching. Why is career coaching so much different from any other coaching?
Career coaching, as the name probably suggests, does just focus on the career element. And generally people come to me when they have a decision to make, and generally they want to leave their jobs. They either want to leave their jobs, they want to get a promotion within their job, or they want to do a different job. And it's that transition that they're finding so daunting. So I focus primarily with women that are wanting to just change them. And I'll be honest, the majority of them leave their jobs. And what I help them to do is to leave well. And ensure that they leave elegantly, and that they are transitioning because of what they want to do and at the time that's right for them, and with a strong plan. But that differs from other types of coaching. There's all sorts of coaching out there. There's mindset coaches, health coaches, business coaches. There's life coaches. So life coaches traditionally work with all elements of your life. There's a famous life coach wheel, which segments into your social life, your health, your family, your relationships, your money situation. And it will support you to think about those areas in the kind of same way that I would in career coaching. It helps you to examine them, to work out what's going on from you, and generally because you've got yourself into a sticky situation with one of those areas, it will help you how to figure that out and act. And I suppose in a way to try and help you understand more about how coaching isn't mentoring, mentors would tell you what to do. A mentor requires you, you could only be mentored by a more senior brain surgeon, to take you back to my previous point. So it's a mentor sort of would advise you, they would tell you what to do because they had more experience in your field or in your industry, and they would say guide you. I always use the example of a university don would sort of take an undergraduate under their wing, and they would tell them, if you want to get to this career in 5 years' time, you've got to do this course, speak to these people, read these books, and then take this career trajectory. And they're advising. And that is what sort of differs from coaching. Other types of coaching, predominantly, so life coaching, and another big one is business coaching. So business coaching involves working with a leader in the organization and helping them to figure out whatever they want to figure out about their business. So if they want to increase their sales or pivot their business model, which a lot of businesses have had to do this year in order to survive and stay relevant, I can help people to do that, because it's about them, again, bringing what they want to change and figuring it out for themselves and putting it into a plan.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's very good explanations. And you're right. I mean, the difference between a mentor and a coach is huge. And I do find that people have confusion between a mentor and a coach. So the fact that you've explained it make it so much more real, and also people are going to go, oh yeah, that's a good point. So thank you for bringing that up. So talk to me a little bit about when career coaching might be an actual intervention. When is it that people really need to think about getting a career coach?
Okay. As I said, and I think I keep repeating, but people often come to me when they're unhappy and they don't know what to do. They need to figure something out. They're at a crossroads. They cannot ignore the voice inside them anymore that something isn't right, that's niggling. And they need to give it a voice. They need to figure it out, and they need to see if it's got legs. Mm-hmm. So that helps by coming along and talking to me and trying to figure out a plan. When do people come to me? So essentially they come to me for 5 reasons. When they're facing change, when they're looking for change, they're seeking change, when they're at a stage in their life. So I work a lot with mid-career women, and I myself was mid-career when I had my really powerful coaching. And essentially it means you've done 20 years in one industry or 20 years of your career, and you don't want to do another 20 years doing the same thing. You are literally midway point, or you might not be quite at the stage that you want to be, and you need to work out what's stopping you, what's holding you back. So life stages is a really, really big one, but also life stages can be things like women coming back from maternity leave. Their priorities may have changed, or they want to adapt, work around their work-life balance, or it's just given them a different sense of purpose, a different sense of, I just don't want to do that anymore. I want to do something different. And how am I going to fit it around my new life? I also work with people that are approaching retirement, which kind of, for the same reasons, works for the same reasons. You want a plan. And sometimes, and especially at the moment, about people facing redundancy. Mm-hmm. So, if you're facing redundancy, all of the feelings that brings up for you, how you get yourself back together and you make it work for you. You can make it the best thing that ever happened to you. Yeah. Fundamentally, I also work with people, as I said, at an emotional level. So there's one thing to do pragmatic planning with people, but other times you need to work with people on their emotions and a slightly deeper level. So I will work with people on their limiting beliefs that might be holding them back. And I do a lot of work with confidence and imposter syndrome. About, you are the only thing holding yourself back, and you you could be absolutely brilliant. You are brilliant, but you need to channel that, and you need to believe in that, and you need to get that out of yourself and stop holding yourself back. And the final reason that people come, I often work with people for leadership. So if you are transitioning into a leadership role, you're in the first 90 days, or you're a leader and you feel that you're not being effective enough, or you feel, especially this year, that you need to adapt and flex your leadership style. And I work with people that want to work out what kind of leader they are, so that they can lead in the most authentic way, but also that they can adapt for the circumstances. And certainly this year has brought us a lot of different circumstances that have required us to change and adapt how we operate.
Yeah.
So they're the kind of main reasons that people come. But I think it's really interesting. So often I say to people, if your parents knew what they wanted you to do, and they sent you to the best private schools and the best universities, and you were going to join the family firm, or told you to be a doctor or a barrister, and in the last 20 years you have thrived in that career, and you've just got better and better at it, and you love it, and you get out of bed, you leap out of bed in the mornings excited about what the day has ahead, chances are you don't need career coaching. But not many people fall into that category. As I said, people fall into jobs and they get comfortable, and they get a liking for expensive moisturizers, and before they know it, they don't know what to do. So that is a good time to come for career coaching.
No, I think that's brilliant. I absolutely do love that, because so many things in the world out there has changed. So many people had to make very hard choices, new decisions about where they're going, what the future holds for them. And I think for those, and particularly for those of you listening or watching this video, if you're feeling at this moment in time, in a point in your life where you're not quite sure where to head, what kind of decision you need to make, I would just suggest just get in touch with Hannah and just have a chat with her. So I'm sure she'd love to have a chat with you and see if she can help you, point you in a certain direction. But at the end of the day, asking for help should not be an issue. Asking for help should be you walking towards the door, opening up that door and seeing who's on the other side of that door that can help you. And it's just you asking a question. So I know that things are quite rough and things can be quite harsh for some people. And if you're going through a transition period where you're not quite sure which direction to head in, for a career, or even so, do you need to make a transition into becoming a business owner yourself, becoming an entrepreneur? Any of those kind of things that's stopping you and you're not quite sure which direction to head in, just get a careers coach. Get in touch with Hannah. She's right here, right now. She'd be more than happy to have a chat with you and see if she can help you in any sense. Hannah, this has been absolutely amazing.
The point that you just made there, I suppose, what I would always say, if I had the time in my life, I would have coaching, mentoring, counseling, and really, really strong line management, because they all have elements that can support you. And without doing myself out of a job, I always tell people, if you can, get a mentor, and I tell them to get a coach as well. Get a mentor, get a coach. Having a mentor can be a wonderful thing to inspire you and make you go that bit further for your goals and your dreams. And a coach can help you figure out how to do that. But I think they're two really important things to have in your life if you have the time and the capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I can honestly just thank you so much for being here with us. But like I said, we're not going to leave you just on your own. I'm going to put down in the show notes Hannah's website, through which you can contact her if you want to ask her any more questions. I'm sure she'd be more than happy to have a chat with you. If you want to talk more about pivoting, whether it's in a career, whether it's from career to a business that you want to run, or whether you're just, a mum who's just had a lovely little family and you're not quite sure where you want to go from there, Obviously, we feel that we want to have our careers back. We want to do something, but you don't want to leave that little bundle of joy on the side. So I know that's for most people the moment where they go like, oh, what do I do? Where do I go? Go and have a chat with Hannah. I'm sure she'd love to have you. Hannah, is there any final tips that you want to give the audience before we conclude?
No, thank you very much for having me. As I say, if you would like to have a chat with me, I offer a 45-minute, no obligation, exploratory call. And I call that my chemistry and contacting call. And it really is just to see you bring to me what it is you think that you want coaching for, what's going on for you, and we'll have a chat and see if we're a good fit and if we can make our logistics line up and if coaching is the most appropriate thing for you at this time. So I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, just do it. Honestly, you have no idea how much happier you could be when you're in a career that suits your personality.
Yeah.
So please get in touch.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Hannah, for being here. I really appreciate it. And yeah, for those of you listening, by all means, go down to the show notes, go click on the button there and go and get in contact with Hannah. If you have some questions, I'm sure she'd love to answer them for you. But Hannah, I just wanted to thank you for being here with me on the Entrepreneurial Success Project on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. It's been amazing. And thank you so much for sharing your expertise as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, take care.